Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Quacks podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Dozer, and if you're new to the show, the mission here is to expose the quacks and gimmicks in the marketing industry while also featuring some experienced professionals and great people in general. So in this episode, I'm really excited to welcome our guest, Dallas Downey. Now, Dallas is the managing principal at the Des Moines Insurance Guy, or known as DSMIG. And for full transparency, Dallas is a good friend of mine and also the best man in my upcoming wedding this year. So, Dallas, thanks so much for joining the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate being on, and glad you told everyone about me being the best man. That doesn't add to any of the pressure whatsoever.
Yeah, I had to. So let's dive right in. So talk about kind of what you do now with Des Moines Insurance Guy and why marketing is such a huge component of what you do.
Yeah, man. I run the whole operation, but mostly focused on commercial accounts and taking care of my accounts on that side of the house. I do broker out quite a bit of personal lines deals that really just kind of don't really hit me the way they should. Not nothing against it, just not my thing. I prefer working with small businesses and medium-sized businesses. When it comes to the marketing piece, I'm kind of all over the place. I do a lot of organic Facebook stuff. I mean, you've probably seen it. I've done a lot of Facebook ads. I've held a short little lunch and learn session with one of the local chambers here to kind of discuss how to do Facebook ads. And really, I've kind of done everything from chatbots to paper, physical marketing, to mailers, to all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of been all over the place.
We'll dive into more of those specifics later on in the episode. Talk about your recent transition. Obviously, people don't know. You kind of went into the self-employment world here recently. Talk about that change and maybe how scary it was to go in from that comfortable 9-to-5 world.
Yeah, man. It was definitely a change. It was kind of jarring a little bit. I woke up one morning and realized, you know what, it's time to make the change. I need to just jump and see where the hell I land, right? Luckily, I've got
Did someone inspire you to do that? I mean, like, you don't just wake up one day. I mean, you might, but you don't just wake up one day and be like, I just want to quit my job and then I don't know what I'm doing next. So I guess what was your thought process on? Was it a book you read? Was it, someone that inspired you to do that? Talk about, leading up to that transition.
Yeah, man. There's quite a few individuals in my life that kind of inspire me when it comes down to like jumping off the cliff and just doing their own thing and believing in themselves. Followed a lot of Andy Frisella. Big fan of his. Obviously, some of his stuff is a little shaky, but the main thing for me is really just believing in yourself and taking the jump and building something for you by you. I've got a business partner down in Houston that I work with very closely. He's also a huge inspiration of mine. Shout out Charles. He definitely a great way to make the jump is to have someone that, one, inspires you, and two, is in your corner, especially when you're making the transition and shit's scary.
Absolutely. And from personal experiences, I went through that same transition as well. It's not easy. I mean, it's so glamorous online with people talking about, get rich quick, how to make money online, 5 side hustles to do this. And it's so glorified and sounds so glamorous. But you know this too, Dallas. At the end of the day, like, it's a lot of fucking work to wake up and grind for 10, 12 hours a day just to try to make it, one day at a time. So let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about, insurance and stuff. Very old school industry. Why should insurance agents invest resources into an online marketing strategy?
Well, I mean, I would answer that question with another question. I mean, have you seen all the ads and everything? Like Flo from Progressive and Doug and the Emu from Liberty Mutual and State Farm and all that stuff. They're already the large companies are already putting a ton of money into the marketing and into just being front of face. Realistically, if you're not allowing yourself to have an online presence, you're probably not going to be in business very long. I mean, that's where all your clientele is. I mean, probably 95% of your clientele is both business or personal lines accounts. They're all going to be there. If you don't form some sort of personal brand or identity online, you're not going to be in business long at all.
Yeah, no. When I think of when I think of insurance agent, I think of like the local chamber. It's always the same people
Yeah.
at the local chambers that just come into network and hand you their business cards. That's where I go. It's more of this traditional word of mouth, but that's going to die out in my opinion, as you just alluded to. So you mentioned this towards the beginning of the episode where you talked about Facebook ads and lead gen. Talk about your lead gen strategy, whether it's like through Facebook ads, email marketing, anything else you want to touch about that you do for lead gen.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's kind of funny is Facebook ads are difficult. We all know that. We all know it. They're hard to set up. They're hard to find a target audience for unless you have uh, a defined perfect picture painted of who you want to work with, right, and who you want to advertise to. So unless you have something knocked out like that, and luckily I have quite a few different audiences that I've set up over the years that I can just go back and lean on and things like that. The ads can be a little tough. A lot of things I do on Facebook, I do giveaways, and that's a big part of my lead generation. I can either do ads or just do it organically off my personal page. I typically like to do things a little more organically because one, people are interacting with my own personal Facebook page,
It's
and
free.
bingo. I mean, if you're advertising stuff off pay to play or off your business page, it's pay to play. Like you're going to spend a lot more money and probably get a hell of a lot less results.
We
So,
talk about this all the time, and this
oh
applies
yeah,
on Facebook and LinkedIn too. Just business pages in general, unless you're paying, they will destroy your organic reach like there's no tomorrow. It's all about the personal pages. LinkedIn, Facebook, especially personal profiles on LinkedIn do a lot well in terms of reach compared to business pages. So talk about that a little bit and why people should leverage a personal account on these social media platforms.
man. The thing is, people need to learn how to leverage it. I think people do try. It's just they don't know exactly
That's a
how.
good point.
They throw out like, oh well, like in my industry, hey, I can save you money on a quote. I can save you money on your auto or your business insurance. Okay, great. What the hell else are you gonna do for me, right? Like, hey, no, I'm here to get to know you. I'm here to interact with your stuff. I want to be excited when I see that you have a kid or your kid loses their first tooth or something like that. Like I'm genuinely there to build that relationship. And we do a lot of this with the Loop, with our networking group too. It's just in person. I try to do it over the internet as well. So with Facebook and LinkedIn, the more you interact with your audience or who you want to do business with, the better they're probably the algorithm is gonna let them see you more, and you're probably gonna see them a hell of a lot more too, and get to know them better. You'll know, you'll have an idea of their pain points.
Yeah, it's more about just that, hey, request a quote and I can save you money. It's more of that personal side of it too, providing value in other ways. No, that's
Yeah.
great. So talk about, let's transition to AI now. You know, I'm big into AI, my own AI stuff going on. I know you're doing AI and automation stuff too. So talk about how you're leveraging AI in your business operations. Is there any tools you're using? Just kind of explain that for me.
Yeah, man. I mean, everyone is holding on to the Titan GPT and GPT-4, 3.5, all that fun stuff. I have integrated that into via Zapier into a bunch of different applications. So like LinkedIn, Facebook, on my Google page as well. I've integrated that into just some random little tools I'm using, just little updates, things like that, like bad jokes and whatever. I can put that on my business page, whatever. Another tool I use a lot and I kind of lean on, it's called Missing Letter, MissingLettr. It's missing the letter E. They're super creative, whatever. You can integrate that into like your blog post, your RSS feed, and they will create content for you that will stay evergreen for up to 12 months. You can integrate it. You can integrate that content those posts from the blog posts into LinkedIn, not just your business page, but your personal page, your Google My Business page, your Facebook, basically anything that leads to a social channel, it will distribute out to for you in little tidbits and leave evergreen content all along the way. It just trickles out over time. I use that a lot, so I don't have to basically go in and rewrite different posts for myself and different posts for my audience and things like that.
Got it. So does it auto post then from a blog post? Like if you do a blog post, does this tool auto post to all your social platforms, then respin it for each platform?
Yep. Yep. I mean,
Got it.
you
Okay.
also have the freedom to go into and like change the copy on each different post or whatever, and change like the timelines. It's a pretty slick little tool. I learned that from a friend of mine, Ron Wadley, down in Texas.
Yeah, I love it. Any other AI stuff you're dabbling into?
I play around with copy AI every once in a while just to kind of help me out with some planning for social posts, planning for blog posts that I'm working on. Just going out and searching the web and seeing what's out there, right?
Do you
Thanks
use
to you,
ChatGPT Plus at all, just for like
I
copy
do.
creation, social creation, ideation, stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I use ChatGPT Plus. I also use Dolly within that, and every once in a while I'll use Midjourney AI. Just I like the way Midjourney kind of makes things look a little more photorealistic than Dolly does, but they both have their applications.
Yeah, Dolly and Midjourney are just very good. Midjourney just had a big update, I know, a couple weeks ago. I saw something on the internet where it was like, are these pictures real? Yes or no? And it was a picture of Trump and Biden, and the majority of people said it was like 70 or 80% said yes, and they were purely generated from Midjourney. So I'm like, wow, this is where we're going now.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah,
so
dude.
cool.
If you look at any of my blog posts, the headline on the blog post, the photo that's there is usually generated by via Midjourney.
Yeah, Midjourney's great for sure. So you mentioned this earlier too. Let's talk about the Loop Des Moines, and for full transparency, the Loop Des Moines is a networking group that Dallas and I co-founded here in Des Moines. We like to label ourselves as the premier networking group for young professionals. Talk about, I guess, your involvement in the Loop and why networking is still important in 2024.
Yeah, man. So my involvement, obviously, you kind of alluded to it. We co-founded this thing together. We brought it up from Kansas City thanks to a fraternity brother of mine and said, you know what, we need this in the area. We need something that can bring good people together where there's no bullshit. We can just hang out, kind of let our hair down and just chill and not worry about the business card pitching and all that stuff, right? The reason why it landed in my lap and the reason why I wanted to run with it and plan it out with you is obviously networking is still important, but there's so many different networking groups out there that only focus on business exchange, and that's not the way to do things, man. Like that's not the way.
How many leads did you get me?
Exactly. Like no one gives a shit. Like you're there to build relationships. You're not there to generate business. And truth be told, you're gonna generate business via building the relationships that you've built. Like that's how my grandfather did it way back in the 50s and 60s and 70s when he was working for Midwest Wheel. He would build relationships. Yeah, he had to sell a little bit, but at the same time, it was never about that. It was about, hey, let's go play a round of golf. Let's go hang out. Let's go chat and get to know each other. I want to know your family. I want to know all this stuff, right? I mean, networking is it's not underrated, but it's just done incorrectly, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree 100%. And now with the internet, the importance of establishing and building a personal brand, in my opinion, that will sell way more than just hard selling people with business cards and getting coffee with people, every week or every other week from these networking events. I just think people need to realize, especially kind of that old school traditional mindset in these old school industries, even in insurance, that you can still build a personal brand. And with the internet here and just AI and everything else that keeps evolving, building your personal brand will be the best leverage that you can get.
Absolutely. And the whole thing is too, it's like you build that personal brand. That's where DSMIG came out of, Des Moines Insurance Guy. I was messing around and I wanted to do some branding stuff, and I found the URL was open, so I jumped on it. Like, $12 a year, cool. This is something that's great. But the whole networking piece, people just need to realize that it's not about going out and finding business. It's going out and trying to help somebody else, and not with your product. It's genuinely
And
trying
build
to help somebody
relationships.
else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So let's transition now to my favorite segment of the show where we talk about marketing quacks. So, what are some of the tricks and gimmicks that you've seen? Let's talk about maybe just the insurance industry in terms of marketing, because you're in it. What are some tricks and gimmicks that you see people do to get results?
Yeah. to get results, typically it's a lot of the same stuff. I mean, you've mentioned it. It's a very old industry. It's a very boring industry, and not that many people are up to snuff when it really comes to figuring out different marketing tactics. I would say there are more quacks in the insurance coaching industry or the lead generation industry than there are in the insurance industry in general.
Actual agents. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a part of this collective, if you will. It's a little mastermind that's got about 400 people in it. That started as a 50,000 person group, and we've pared it down. We've gotten to this little mastermind deal, and it's all focused on either marketing or business generation or growth or even process or figuring out processes and things like that. And that's where, that's where a lot of business is exchanged, yes, but also where a lot of ideas and tactics are exchanged as well too.
Yeah, that can be applied for any other industry
Yeah.
too, especially in online marketing and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I see it all over the place. Where what's funny is a lot of these people actually have no real world experience getting results for clients in digital marketing, but yet they go in and they try to sell these online marketing courses, these online marketing masterminds, and try to scam people. And it's like, bro, you haven't even done it. You haven't even gotten a lead for a client, but yet somehow you feel qualified to teach people how to get leads for clients. Just like, it really grinds my gears, man.
Dude, it's just like that old saying, those who can't do, teach. And I mean, it's true. Like, I guarantee you could probably go out there and ask somebody that's been on stage, that's been talking about their marketing strategy or whatever, hey, how big is your book of business? And they'll probably get a little uncomfy and start doing one of these and like, oh, well, I don't really want to talk about that. Well, let's talk about it. I want to know how you built your business and why you're not focusing on that business. If you're focusing on public speaking or coaching or something like that, that throws up some red flags for me in general. Now, if I know that you've built a successful business, like I know plenty of people in my collective have, and they're also coaching and teaching on the same side, even better. Like, those are the unicorns. Those are the diamonds in the rough that you'll find through the 10 million pounds of shit that's out there.
Absolutely. I saw a tweet yesterday, actually. I forget who it was, but the tweet was something along the lines of, just outsource it and it'll make your processes easier. You need to start outsourcing. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, dummy, I've tried outsourcing for 5 or 10 years to Fiverr and Upwork and the Philippines, but yet he left out quality and he left out the actual logistics of what good outsourcing looks like. But yet my business partner replied, and I hope he listens to this, he replied back and he's like, this is just something that you tweet for the blind sheep that have never actually outsourced in their entire life. And I completely agree with that, because you see all this advice from these influencers about outsourcing and how to run your business and this and that, but clearly they've never done it, because of any outsourcing that you do, you have to invest in a good person or it will not work.
Precisely. And I think so you actually got me on the Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Work Week. And, it tons of great ideas, but also I think that might be the one piece that people don't really take in when they're reading that book as well. You've got to find a quality person to outsource to, and it's going to take you time and money to find that quality person out of wherever the hell they're at, be it U.S. based, be it Philippines, be it Pakistan, be it anywhere. You're going to have to spend some serious time and money and probably lose a little bit in order to find yourself winning.
You're probably going to have to get burned with some outsourcing when you start, or else you'll never learn, right? And
Exactly.
I love the 4 Hour Work Week. That's my favorite book. I always tell people, but I always mention that note. I'm like, hey, when he starts talking about the outsourcing stuff, just take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of that is BS. Sure, it might have worked 10 or 15 years ago when outsourcing was brand new, but now with AI and all this other stuff going on, absolutely not.
Yeah. I mean, we've got two virtual assistants, one out of the Philippines and one down in Texas right now, and they do phenomenal work. They're behind the scenes, and either way, they're always Johnny on the spot, like perfect in almost everything they do. And overall, like, it took us a while to get to those two. And I mean, it took us a while to kind of figure out, all right, is this the right step to take? Are these the right people to go with? Now, we use a service, but at the same time,
is it onlinejobs.ph?
It is not. It is not
Okay.
onlinejobs.ph. We use a service called Agency VA. So they
God, I'll have to look
provide
into that one maybe.
Yeah, they provide quite a bit more instead of just going out and finding the person. They offer some management support and all that stuff. So
Love it. Well, Dallas, it's been fun. Any final notes on marketing advice that you have for anyone listening?
no, man, just be genuine and just be consistent. That's really all I've got. I mean, just be you. Don't be afraid to be you on the internet. Don't be afraid to interact with your clients. Like that's probably going to be the most bang for your buck that you get is interacting with them and showing them who you really are.
Yeah, being authentic and being consistent will be, I would say, 90% of people, in my opinion.
Bingo.
Well, cool, Dallas. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Not really. I'm not on Twitter that often, and it's basically just all of us yelling into the void anymore. But no, I'm on LinkedIn at just my name, Dallas Downey. You can find me on Facebook, same thing. DSMIG is also on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And if you want to toss a Google review in just randomly, I wouldn't be opposed. So
You heard it here. You heard it here, guys. The Des Moines Insurance Guy himself, Dallas Downey. Dallas, thanks again for coming on the show.
thanks again, Ryan. I appreciate you having me, man.